Welcome to the TubCast, everyone. How are you doing today, Lilith?
I'm doing great, thank you, Deb.
Make sure to sub to the Dev and Lilith channel, guys, because in the near future, once Lilith has some IRL things shook out so that we can actually do these on a weekly basis, the TubCast will be transferring over to the Dev and Lilith channel. So you got some stuff happening in real life, some important things, but once you're good to go, we can do these once a week. I'm aiming for Monday nights if possible, but once a week on the Dev and Lilith channel, you will get a new TubCast. So make sure that you go over to that channel, you sub to that channel, you follow that channel. We'll do a few more TubCasts on this channel, on SFO, but the content will be shifting over there in the near future.
And I'll still appear on this channel too, because, I like appearing onto the show, and it's fun. I think it's fun to just talk about stuff. So subscribe. Yeah, the bell button, yada yada yada, algorithms.
like, comment, and subscribe!
Yeah!
So today we are here to talk about the whole G4 shit show. Now, I did a video on this. It was actually an indefensible video. I brought back the old Gamergate era intro from my channel from like 2014. And there are some people who are like new viewers, and they're like, oh, I like the new intro, Dev. And I'm like, it's not a new, it's a very old intro.
What we do here is go back.
But I figured it was relevant to bring back the old intro because a lot of what happened just seemed like a repeat of 2014. We're just doing it again, and we'll be doing it again in perpetuity, it seems like.
The endless culture war.
The endless culture war. So, Lilith, did you actually watch G4 when it was a TV network back in the early 2000s?
I did when I was in America. It was really cool to just see a channel where they talk about gaming, and I believe it aired usually at night, and they would just hype up a bunch of games on PlayStation or Xbox. I was just like, oh, I wish I could have that, but I can't afford it. My parents won't get it for me. And then eventually I could just save up and get it myself. But I watched G4 a while back. When I returned to Taiwan, I just started watching it on their website and on, I guess, YouTube at the time.
So, being a Canadian, we didn't actually get G4, unfortunately. I don't think we did. We got Spike TV and other stuff that was kind of in the same vein, but we didn't really get much G4 programming here in Canada. But I certainly knew of it, and I knew of all the things that I was missing because I did have the internet. And so I could look up the videos that I was missing. So I did see a little bit of it, but it was always at the periphery of my knowledge. I didn't really know too much about it. Around that time, late 90s, early 2000s, I was much more interested in my Nintendo Power subscription because I was a kid back then. But
Rest in peace, Nintendo Power.
I still have all my Nintendo Powers. They're on a shelf in my gaming room. And they will. I am not ever selling them. I don't care how poor I get. I am never selling my old Nintendo Powers. Fuck that. Actually, some of them are really expensive now. The value's gone up.
Never let others force you to grow up, right?
There was a point when I was 19, 20 where I lost almost my entire gaming collection.
How'd you lose it?
You know what? I'll tell you another time because I've told the story on my gaming channel a dozen times now, and people are they're mad at me whenever I bring up the Great Purge.
We gotta go through more dev lore.
More dev lore. G4 was basically this old school television, not YouTube, but on cable channel that was nonetheless devoted, not entirely devoted, because it had reruns of Next Generation and like Star Trek on it. But its main programming was gaming focused, and that was actually just really interesting and cool because even in that era, gaming was considered the side media. It wasn't given the same credence as television or especially as movies. And nowadays it kind of is, at least a little bit more.
Oh yeah, it was surprising to me when I saw there was an entire channel or entire thing dedicated to gaming.
Yes. I remember being very, very young. I barely even remember this, but I remember when the Mario Brothers movie came out in the 90s, how astounded I was that there was a crossover between the video game realm and the movie realm, because video games had always been very segregated from the rest of media. So that kind of blew my mind, and then it continued to blow my mind as gaming got more popular. I said this in my G4 video at the start of it, that gaming being an isolated form of media meant that gamers were at the time actually looked down on a little bit. And I'm not doing a gamers rise up thing here. I'm just saying that, like,
Society.
if you were a kid in the 90s and you were a gamer, you probably got a little bit bullied for it. I think people who grew up in the 90s can relate to that. Not anymore. People don't bully gamers anymore, but that was the case back then.
It's kind of amazing to remember, but it's just like gaming used to be a lot more niche, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I kind of feel like today we look at gaming, it's just like another medium of media. It used to be sort of very rare. It used to be like seen as a nerd exclusive thing. Whereas it's like, you like playing Mario, Poindexter?
Yes, no, I completely agree.
I'm kind of happy it's destigmatized.
I sometimes am, and I'm sometimes not, because the amount of fucking normies that ruin gaming now is kind of intolerable. But there's still, like,
Yeah.
indie communities and stuff, so it's not as bad as everyone says it is. Regarding G4, the cable network itself eventually ran out of steam and went bankrupt because it's cable, right? Like, I think it finally closed its doors in 2014. This would be like 5 years after YouTubers and streamers had replaced them. You know, no one was watching it anymore. A lot of the big names, like Morgan Webb, like Olivia Munn, like Adam Sessler, they moved on to other things. I think Morgan Webb just kind of like left the public sphere. She hasn't really done anything. Olivia Munn she transitioned to Hollywood, and she's been in some Hollywood roles. Adam Sessler kept doing the gaming thing for like various outlets, and now he's back with the revived G4. But G4 was fun, but it was kind of a relic of its time. It was pretty clear even by like 2008, I'd say, that YouTubing and streaming was going to be the future of a lot of things, but right in that moment, it was the future of the video game community. It wasn't going to be revolving around cable networks like G4. And so even though Attack of the Show and all these other shows were fondly remembered by the gaming community today, they were not destined to last.
There were some funny sketches that they did too.
Yes, there certainly were. So G4 died, and then G4 came back. And G4 came back like a year ago, and nobody noticed. Their main channel has like over, I think it has 500,000 subs, and they get sometimes less views than me, which is kind of oof.
Did they ever go away fully? Like, didn't they always sort of kept like a sort of an online presence?
No, they were actually straight up just gone from 2014 to 2020, I think. They were like you might have seen Adam Sessler floating around, like during the initial weeks of Gamergate. He was pictured having drinks with Zoe Quinn, and he was like publishing articles about it on other websites. So he's been around, but the brand G4 and like X-Play, Attack of the Show, these things were actually gone for that period of time.
That's probably it. I think I remember Adam Sessler, and it's just because he's attached to G4, and it's at the back of my mind. I never really knew they were just gone.
So the reason that G4 has returned to the forefront is because of this video, and I'm sure you've all seen it by now, but Lilith, you said you hadn't really seen it completely, so let's watch it, okay?
I do think that there is a larger discussion about Red Dead Online and that we need to have eventually about game design versus immersive experience and comparing the Red Dead Online multiplayer experience versus the solo player one. But I actually want to talk about something so much more important than Red Dead Online: sexism in gaming.
Sexism in gaming.
Oh no.
It's literally the same intro as Gamergate in 2014. These people, they keep saying we have to have a discussion about sexism, about racism in gaming, about homophobia, whatever it is. We have to have a discussion. What the discussion always is never actually a discussion. It's always a rant. It's a rant where people in charge tell you, the average person who just wants to play video games, that what you're doing and how you feel and what you say and what you buy is all wrong, and you're an oppressive bigot for simply existing and, you know, wanting to play a video game after work because your life fucking sucks. Like, these are never actually discussions. They're rants mixed with, like, moral edicts.
What does that have to do with, Red Dead Online? It seems like an awfully strange segue, don't you think?
Yeah, I think she doesn't even mention Red Dead Online again for the rest of the rant. Like, She doesn't even tie it back in. It's not like this event during Red Dead Online made me think of this topic. No, it's just she just wants to talk about sexism in gaming. She gave the first minute of the video is about Red Dead, and now she's like, "Fuck you, we're talking about sexism in gaming."
It's not where I thought we were going, but I'm here.
I had no
here.
idea.
I'm listening. Yeah.
In joining G4,
Okay, first of all, I'm just gonna quickly say, I used to like Gerard, the completionist, and that look that he had in his face, it looks like he kind of knows this is going to be a shit show. I don't know what his politics are. I know that like he unfollowed people like Razor Fist, like more libertarian types as he got a little bit older. So he's probably leaning it into the progressive crowd because honestly, okay, here is a good.
Looks uncomfortable.
Yes, but here's a good rule of thumb. Okay, if your favorite YouTuber, streamer, whatever, decides that their next big career move is to move to LA to start making connections, stop following their channel because it's fucking over. Okay? That's the truth. That is the goddamn truth. Because you have so many people, like Gerard, who moved to LA, and now their channels are shit, their ideas are shit, their videos are becoming shit. And now, like, Gerard took this job here on G4 because, you know, they thought that he was a big name, and he's going to add some prestige to the company, and they're going to try and get G4 off the ground. You know, fair enough. But now he's sitting here having taken a bet on this show, and he's like, oh my god, we're doing 2014 again, live on this fucking thing that I'm signed to. I'm fucked. And that's what his face looks like.
2014 too.
I was ecstatic to be part of something that I grew up watching as a child. But every time G4 is brought up in various channels, even in this YouTube channel, we have the chat in front of us, I can see you, without a doubt, there will be backlash because I'm not as bangable as the previous hosts. It's somehow...
Talk to him, Frosk!
It has somehow been expected that you can talk about how much you jerked off to women as a compliment.
That
It's
shit weird.
not a compliment.
It's weird!
It's dehumanizing and it's weird. Women do not exist to be nice on the eyes for you. Morgan Webb, Olivia Munn did not exist to be nice on the eyes for you.
So this is where every single person who reacts to this video pauses the video because there is so much there. Okay, so Lilith, as somebody who watched Attack of the Show and these and other bits of G4 content, how many times did you see Morgan Webb and Olivia Munn sexualized on those shows?
They do it all the time. Even just when she's just appearing on screen with Sessler, she has to wear these revealing, like cleavage-showing outfits oftentimes. I mean, you know what? That's if that's her choice, then that's fine. It would not surprise me if at some point during the 90s they set them aside and told her, look, sex sells. This is what you gotta do.
Yeah, there's like two conversations here because one of them is like you have the sleazy Hollywood executive who's just like, yeah, take your clothes off. You want to be a superstar, don't you? Like, yeah, fair enough, right? And if the person didn't want to do that, but they had to because they gotta pay bills, they think this is how they get their career forward. You know, that happens all the time. It's not necessarily good. Fair enough, right? There's real complaints there. The other half of it is we should not be shaming people being sexual or sexuality. We shouldn't be prudes. You know, we are not, like.
No, we shouldn't.
I don't know about you, but I'm not a member of the religious right. Nor am I a member of that part of the left that calls all sexuality oppressive because of the male gaze or whatever the fuck. You know, you have a hot girl who looks hot on TV, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that.
If anything, I think people are a bit too prudish these days. Where like people cannot just show themselves off without saying you're setting an unrealistic standard for women. You're objectifying yourself. Things were different back then.
And it's not just the objectifying and setting standards argument. It's also the exploitation argument that you hear from some very far left-leaning people who are saying like, okay, if this person needs to do this job and get paid, then they're being exploited. It doesn't matter if they consented to taking off their clothes, they're still being exploited. It doesn't even matter if they genuinely wanted to take off their clothes, they're still being exploited. And it's like, at that point, the argument just breaks down and becomes ridiculous, in my opinion. Because I do generally believe in the supremacy of consent in issues like this. You know, you might
absolutely.
You might be able to like twist words to make it sound like that their consent isn't valid, but I don't like to go down that road because it's a very dangerous road to go down. And I will also say, just as a quick aside, one, everyone is ragging on Frosk here for her looks and how it sounds like she's being jealous towards the previous hosts. And I mean, yeah, there's some of that. There sounds like there's a little bit of bitterness in there. But also, you know what? I don't think she's like everyone's like this girl is ugly. I don't think she's ugly.
I don't either. She has fine style. I like her hair, and you know, it might be an unpopular opinion, but even her nose ring works for her overall general look. I don't think she should be. I don't doubt that she receives sexist comments. It's the internet. There will be people, there will be trolls, there will be, like, assholes, really, just, who will just say whatever they want. It's just that reality of it. But you gotta take the good with the bad.
Well, the interesting thing is, you can actually go to the Twitch channel and see the original broadcast of this stream. And you can see the chat room, because Twitch has, like live chat replay. And if you look at that chat room, there is not, like, a single sexist comment about her. It's all, like, Yas Queen Slay, the entire thing while she's doing this rant. So I don't know about sexist... I think, like, if there was a sexist backlash, it came after it aired and it went viral. She claims it's in the chat right now. We can see it. I went back and looked at that chat, and so did other people. There's no sexism in that chat. I will make one final point about Frosk here, is that as she's ranting about sexism, she has a history of sexualizing herself, sexualizing other women on the new G4, and also sexualizing men. So this idea that it's like, it's uniquely bad for her audience to do it while she does it, and while her show promotes it, and while her show promoted it before, but it's bad for the plebs to do it. Like, I don't fucking buy it. I think this is... Maybe they're just trying to drum up, like, outrage clicks because they know that their channel's fucking dying. Like, I don't know. Or maybe she's just, like, a pure hypocrite, because I've heard that about her, too. Before she joined G4, she had an extensive career as an esports caster, like a commentator for, I think it was League of Legends. And she made a bunch of shitty calls during some of those matches. She had a reputation for not necessarily being the best at her job, and she did spin it into sexism back then as well.
Ah, I see.
So maybe this might not be what it seems like, you know? Let's keep watching.
And that's just obvious sexism. You don't need to explicitly objectify women or declare that you hate women to be sexist. Just go ahead and check out Thorn's latest meltdown on Twitter for some spark notes. Now, here at XPlay, our reviews are written and produced by a team of people. There are too many games for one person to shoulder the burden. So we divide and conquer. And when we use language like we or I, that's the reviewer. That's coming from the mouth and experience of the reviewer reading that review. And that's not to say that Gerard, TBH, Adam, or myself don't contribute to the reviews. We absolutely do. But it'll always be in varying degrees and take a whole team behind us. That's why we're XPlay and not Adam Play. We have done the experiment and controlled for the variables.
Get that big white clap.
And everybody clapped.
If you did not clap, your penis will be removed in 5 seconds.
Listen, he shouldn't clap too hard. You might blow away all of his cocaine lines right underneath the camera there. Oh god, I'm gonna have to do like a video on like the cokehead arc of Adam Sessler one day. Not today though. There's too much to cover.
Ah, more lore.
Adam will read a script written by the same writer that I will read the other half of the script for, but I'll be the one flamed. And yeah, it also happens to Gerard and TBH, but that doesn't discount the sexism of how it happens to me when it does. Both things can be true, that there is a general hatred of any change that isn't Adam, and that all receive special flame just for being a woman. And I wish I could turn the camera around so that you could see the incredible team that make X-Play. Half of our producers and writers are women. Emily, Abby, Megan, Joe, Jake, Zipper, Gabby. It goes on and on and on. Former writers that are now on ATOS like Vanessa. When you're in our DMs or on those YouTube comments or in...
Here's some more lore on the situation, okay? What she's trying to do here is obfuscate the problem that happened with her before this went viral. So she's talking about how, during gaming reviews, everyone writes the script, and then I have to present the script, so I add my own finishing touches, and then I read the script, and then I get shit on for being a woman, okay? That's the story she's presenting. And I don't know if that's true. It probably is true to some degree. Who knows, right? But the recent shit show with her, before this rant went viral, they were having this roundtable discussion about Xbox Series X versus PS5 in 2022. And during this discussion, she got everything wrong. That doesn't mean that it was the scriptwriter's fault because it was a roundtable. This was her.
Starfield's great, Obsidian, amazing. I actually think Xbox is going to have a hell of a 2022. I think they're going to absolutely smoke Sony until Sony get their act together right now. I think the PlayStation is kind of dead man walking.
And for some of it, she was just giving her opinion, and it was a stupid opinion. It probably pissed off a lot of the fanboys because Xbox doesn't have any exclusives right now. That's their whole model. They just want to get you into the Xbox ecosystem, whether that's on the Xbox store on PC or on the Xbox hardware or whatever it is. While PS5 has Ghost of Tsushima 2 coming down the pipe, the God of War Ragnarok game, the next Spider-Man game, the next Horizon game. I don't give a shit about Horizon. That game looks like trash. But I know all the kids love it. Naomi loves it, God rest her soul. But this is all a side story, because this is all just Frosk being stupid. It actually gets worse.
I still think there's a chance that they're going to be buying more studios and we're going to have ourselves a Metal Gear game on a Microsoft.
Oh, that would be such a big FU.
Yeah. It's just a feel.
Again, dead
Nothing
man walking.
but a feeling.
Is BioWare, have Xbox eaten up BioWare yet?
No.
Yet.
Just EA.
No, they had the
Just
option to with the first Mass Effect, but they gave it over to EA.
Oh.
Yeah.
People don't remember that was the original one wasn't exclusive.
It was exclusive.
I don't know. I feel like there's so many titles, and I don't think that Sony has enough good exclusives right now, comparatively probably to what Game Pass and Xbox exclusives will offer me. That between like the Hogwarts Legacy game, between the fact that we could have 2 incredible RPG series in 2022 or even 2023 with Starfield and anything that Obsidian's putting out, if it's Avowed, of potential Elder Scrolls, like there's a world where I'm playing 4 RPG amazing games at one time. I am ready for that world, and nothing is on PlayStation, and that makes me sad.
So first of all, EA owns BioWare, and as big as Microsoft is, I don't know if they can buy EA just yet. Right? What she's doing is confusing Microsoft's purchase of Bethesda with BioWare. And secondly, I'm pretty sure Hogwarts isn't an exclusive Microsoft game. It's after this video dropped that people watching G4 started saying, "Hey, why are you on this show if you don't know what you're talking about? We're tuning in for analysis of the market, and you don't even know who owns what." And because Frosk has this history as being a radical feminist, she took the criticism and spun it into the sexism accusation. Because... I don't know, I guess she expects people to just sit there and listen to her spout off nonsense.
Sony isn't dead man walking. I mean, I know that Microsoft recently acquired Activision Blizzard.
Yeah, that was today. As of
Yes,
today,
that's
the
today.
recording today.
I wouldn't purchase Activision Blizzard at this moment. Let's just say that.
Yeah, that's a whole shit. Oh my god. Okay, I'm like leading into 5 different videos of what we're talking about today. But yeah.
But the point is, she said some controversial and sometimes arguably incorrect stuff, and you know what? People are going to be mad about that, regardless of your sex.
Even when any male person in the in the gaming YouTube space gives a completely wrong report about a game coming out or a console or whatever it is, they also get shit on by their audience. I've been shit on by my audience for being wrong. That is in the nature of being wrong. It's
Same
not.
here.
It's not about sexism. It's about the fact that you're not doing your job well. The thing to do would not be to spin this into a sexism conversation. It would be to say, yes, on that couch roundtable where we talked about the consoles, I fucked up. Sorry. And then just
I
leave
made a
it.
mistake. I said some inaccurate stuff. I'm sorry.
Yes.
And you you don't. If you just spin it and be like, "Hey, you're only saying this because you're sexist," oof, they're just
Yeah, it's a
just
pretty big oof.
inviting trouble.
Yeah.
In Twitch chat right now, those reactionary threads thinking that I'm somehow ruining your current X-Play experience because you can't objectify me how you previously did to Morgan, or that I'm somehow less qualified to speak on something.
First of all, you can objectify anything if you try hard enough.
Yep.
I'm an equal opportunist objectifier. I don't know. It's just I think people take like terms like sexualization and stuff a little bit too seriously. If people think you're sexy, they're gonna think you're sexy. If they don't, they're just not. You know.
Yeah, I agree. Secondly, though, she mentioned Twitch chat there, which is important because even though their YouTube channel is floundering, their Twitch channel is heavily pushed onto the front page by Twitch's algorithm. I don't know how many viewers they get. Probably because they're being pushed, they get at least some of those front page hits. But I do know that it's less than what they should be getting for their size and for the money they're spending. And that'll be important a little bit later.
You can't quite put your finger on why, even though I'm reading the exact same script as Adam, but you have no problem with he's part of it. You're letting your unconscious biases ruin my day and you're gatekeeping the gaming space. So maybe for 2022, we be a bit nicer, a bit more self-reflective, and we enjoy the fact that people are working hard to make free content for you. If you don't like it, don't watch it.
You don't say that.
Nope. And also there's just the contradiction of you're gatekeeping us and then saying if you don't like it, don't watch it, which is literally a form of gatekeeping.
Oh, she's making so many missteps here.
Yes.
I don't want to do Gamergate 2.0. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of all this culture war stuff.
Mr. Bones' wild ride never ends, Lilith. You're on it forever.
I want off Mr. Bones' wild ride. I want off Mr. Bones' wild ride.
Yeah, this is literally the exact same thing that people during Gamergate did. As like they had their audience was complaining at them for a slight, whether real or perceived, and their response was not to either apologize for the slight if it was real, or show them why it wasn't real. Their response was to insult them. And was to say, listen, if you don't like us, don't watch us. Total Biscuit said that. And I mean, I know he died of unrelated causes, but his channel was not doing the greatest during those last few years because he was taking on that more adversarial approach with his audience. I know Game Grumps has been floundering for very similar reasons. A lot of these older, the Yogscast guys had some problems too. A lot of these older channels, on the one hand, if you have a channel that's 10 years old, like mine, for example, the audience grows up, moves on. You got to find a new audience. You kind of burn through, you burn through your potential a little bit faster the older you get. Fair enough. That is just the nature of the beast. People are going to like young, fresh, newer channels over channels that have been older, where the hosts are a little bit older. That is just how things go on the content creation space. However, telling people to stop watching you if they don't like what you're doing is not a good idea.
The thing is, just telling a little bit more than just the quote-unquote sexist gamers that, fucking 2014 Gamergate over, Gamergate 2 over again, frickin' hell, fuck me. But it's just, when you say that, you're talking to more than just, you're supposedly talking to other people who are just like, wait, is she talking to me?
Yes.
It's just like, people are gonna get that sort of impression. It's just like, if they're sexist, leaving awful comments, let the mods handle it. You don't have to pull them aside and give them even more attention, which for a lot of people, that's what they want in the first place.
You don't have to put a brakes on the content that people are there to see, to talk about it, Like, what if I said, okay, so guys, I have a video for you today, but I'm not going to post it. Instead, today, we're going to talk about some of the terrible commenters that I get on YouTube and how you guys need to cut it out. Like, that would be a terrible fucking video. You know what I mean? Like, that would be awful.
You don't ever want to turn your entire audience into your adversary. Like, the few trolls leaving nasty comments, they're not your entire audience.
Yeah.
You don't talk down to them. And I think that's the mistake she's making here. She's talking down. If it comes across like she's talking down to to just everybody.
It's also the case that at this point, a lot of the non-AstroTurfed audience for G4 will be people who are a little bit older who remember G4 during its heyday and who have a lot of fond memories about it, because people tend to value nostalgia. They tend to view things in their past as being better than they actually were. That's just a known phenomenon. So you have a group of people who are like, they're now like working their jobs. They remember being younger and watching G4 and saying, you know what? Fuck it. I'm done work today. I'll come home. I'll watch the latest G4 video. And then they're being told by the new host that the old show sucked. It wasn't what you remembered it. You're terrible for believing it was what it was, for enjoying it the way that you did. And you need to get on board with what they're currently doing, or get the fuck out. And like, that is how you alienate your core audience, is by telling them that what they're here for is not only not what you're offering, it's that it was bad in the first place. There is no reason for any old G4 fan to watch this shit.
Exactly. It kind of reminds me of, like, shows doing reboots where they just shit over the original source material, where it's just like, oh, well, that stuff was in the past and it was bad and you're bad for liking it. But at the same time, you're trying to appeal to the people who did like the old stuff. So It's just like, what are you doing?
That's like that's Ghostbusters, that's Star Wars, that's Star Trek, that's every fucking reboot, every fucking show right now. Did you hear that they're making a new Zorro? They're bringing back Zorro. He's gonna be a hacker now.
What?
Yeah, he's gonna be.
You mean the saber
Yeah.
Zorro with the mask?
He's gonna be a Latinx hacker. I'm serious.
You are not serious.
I'm serious. I covered the article on my Sunday show this week. Did you know that they're bringing Back to the Future?
My head.
Christopher
No,
Lloyd wants
no,
Back to the Future
not-
4.
Not Back to the Future.
There will
Not
be
Back to the Future.
there will be no stone left fucking unraped at this point. They're going for everything. They're going for everything. And that's just how it's going to be.
I hope. No.
That reminds me, though, there's that comic where there's like a dude squatting over somebody's dinner plate about to take a shit. And the guy says, "Excuse me, do you mind not shitting on my dinner?" And then the dude says, "Hey, how do you know it's going to be shit? It's not even out yet."
I remember that. It's freaking ancient V.
The backlash to this was understandable. Nobody liked this. Nobody liked this. And there's been mass downvotes. There's been, like, if the chat wasn't sexist before, when she was giving this rant, the Twitch live chat, it's certainly fucking sexist now. And all the comments in the places where they haven't yet disabled comments are very inflammatory. If you have that extension installed that allows you to still see the YouTube downvotes, you can see that they're getting heavily downvoted everywhere. It seems like whenever a project like this that is run by mainly progressive-leaning people begins to fail financially, on their way out the door, they shriek at their own customers in some way like this. So I think this is like a symptom of the fact that they're on the decline. I don't know if you noticed, but you see all those like expensive looking sets with all that stuff they have going on, the production value. You got all these hosts and writers and camera people. This is an operation that has definitely cost them some money, and they're getting the views that I get. So they are not like telling you from the amount of money that I'm making. I'm at least making a profit for what I do. These people are not making any profit off this.
Considering how much staff and like production that goes into it, it's just I can't even imagine. They have to have some like sponsorship deals going on in order to make even.
They do, in fact, and I think we should talk about them very quickly. So they are partnered with Twitch, like I mentioned before, which means that they're getting I think that they're getting preferential ad rates, and they're getting, and I don't mean like Twitch partner, like how you make partner with a sub button. I mean like they have an actual contract with Twitch, where they're getting like they're getting bumped in the algorithm. They have a specific like company contract, the way that like Ninja had one for a while and stuff. Like the big channels get these contracts. On the YouTube side, not so much, but on the Twitch side, they at least have this benefit. But more importantly is that they are owned and funded by Comcast. And there's some deep lore to talk about regarding Comcast, if you want to talk about the Comcast deep lore.
Oh, of course. Go right ahead.
I think the ownership of G4 shuffled around a little bit during its decline. I think the brand ended up in the hands of NBC, I think, by the end of it. Comcast decided to buy the brand and start working on a reboot. And this reboot would involve having a G4 channel on TV again, for whatever that's worth, on Comcast. But it would also involve YouTube channels and Twitch channels and, you know, a whole network on new media.
Who watches TV these days, though? I mean, the most times I watch TV is just when they're on at restaurants or outside.
Yeah, same here. Like my parents, my old boomer parents still have a TV package. I don't fucking know why. I haven't had a TV package in my entire adult life. It's always been YouTube for me. But what ended up happening is that at some point, Olivia Munn started dating a man named Tucker Roberts. Tucker Roberts is the son of Brian Roberts, and Brian Roberts is the CEO of Comcast. Tucker Roberts has been involved in the Comcast esports division, and they're investing a lot in esports. They own an Overwatch League team. I think they own a couple other, like a League of Legends team, and they're building a huge esports arena called the Fusion Arena in Philadelphia. So Comcast is leaning heavily into esports as being the next big thing because they know that cable's going away. So they think the internet, and specifically esports, is where the money is going to be in the future. When Olivia Munn was dating Tucker Roberts, there's no evidence of this, but there has to have been some kind of whispering in this guy's ear about, hey, maybe you should buy G4 from NBC and revive that as your esports brand. I mean, it kind of makes sense because they did, in fact, bring Frosk in, who is known as being an esports person, as one of their core anchors. I think even though Gerard was first a YouTuber, I think he has some experience in esports as well, like casting esports games. He may have done Hearthstone back in the day, I'm not exactly sure. But basically, they grabbed Adam Sessler because he is the most well-known for being the head of the G4 content. And they started getting esports people, and they started getting YouTubers. And the idea seems to be that Olivia Munn, this is just conspiratorial at this point because there's no direct evidence, but Olivia Munn started dating Tucker Roberts. And then, shortly after they started dating, there was rumbling that G4 might be coming back. It takes a little while for these deals to emerge. You can't just bring it back. You have to buy the rights. You have to build the set. You have to secure the contracts. It takes a year or two to get all this stuff up and running. So
yeah.
They started dating between, I think they dated from 2018 to just the very start of 2020. And they broke up. But at that point, G4's revival had already been in the works. Even though they couldn't secure Olivia Munn's involvement anymore, she was on for the comeback show, then she just left immediately. They couldn't secure her involvement anymore, but they had Adam Sessler. They had money invested. They couldn't stop bringing G4 back. So what was really funny is every time something happened with G4, Olivia Munn was hitting the news for a different reason. So, for example, when G4 first relaunched, Olivia Munn was getting into a new relationship with somebody. And then when this event happened, Olivia Munn was trending on Twitter, not because of this, but because she had a child with a guy who was in a marriage with somebody else, and it was a big fucking shit show. And she had basically stolen that woman's husband. Olivia Munn is a dumpster fire all on her own. Fuck.
I mean, it sounds like a lot of interpersonal drama.
Yeah, a lot of it is just celebrity drama, and it's not interesting enough for our purposes here. But basically, every time G4 had a noteworthy event, it just so happens that Olivia Munn was headlining something else and taking the wind out of their sails. It's just funny how things work out like that, you know? But
yeah.
It does seem to be that the G4 relaunch was kind of banking on having Olivia Munn back. And that fell through because the relationship with Tucker Roberts fell through. And so they were just stuck. They were up shit creek without a paddle. They had all this money invested. They had to do something with it to try and at least get some kind of return on their investment. And it's not working out for them. Nobody's watching. Nobody cares. this is not going to make anybody care. This is going to make people watch him even less, you know?
I mean, if people were watching before, I mean, I don't think this red helps. I'm not so sure if I subscribe to the idea that all publicity is good publicity.
Here's the thing. Let's say when you are going through a canceling event on social media, there's a few different ways you can take it, right? Like, you can just ignore it and move on and hope that the event was not so serious that it will continue to follow you around incessantly for years and years and years. Like, an example of an event that was that serious was the Pro Jared thing. Even though he ended up being innocent, people still talk about it, they still bring it up. And then there are also other canceling events where, like, after the 15 minutes of fame is over, after the trending tag on Twitter disappears, nobody cares anymore and everyone's forgotten about it. So there's definitely a difference. Sometimes just moving on works. Sometimes it doesn't. Depends on how serious it is. And also, it just depends on, like, the whims of the internet. Like, who knows what's going to stick, right? But also, it depends. If you decide to apologize, well, that can be a double-edged sword. Because if you've done something legitimately wrong, and you apologize to your angry fans, who are like, listen, you fucked this up, and you say, yes, I did, I'm sorry. As long as you're honest about it, most fans will probably understand and will forgive you. There'll be some who won't, but that's just the nature of the game. However, if you apologize and you haven't really done anything wrong, then what's going on is that your fans don't think it's a problem, but the wider internet does, because maybe you're not a progressive, maybe you didn't say, maybe you didn't chant Black Lives Matter loud enough, like who the fuck knows, right? The wider internet will never, that is not actually invested in your content, they will never, ever, ever, ever stop if you apologize to them. And your core fan base will hate you for cucking out. So for some people, apologizing works. For other people, it's the absolute wrong thing to do.
I think it really depends on if the thing you did is worth apologizing over.
Yes.
I think that's the most important part.
And then the third way is to insult the people who are complaining at you. And that's also a double-edged sword, because if you insult your own fan base, like Frosk did, that's just going to destroy you. You're just going to be fucking done at that point. However, if there are people who are attacking you who are clearly not your fans, then you could actually go on the offensive against them. Like, most people who read my Kiwi Farms thread, or yours for that matter, are not going to be actually interested in watching this show to be entertained by us as personalities. They're not fans. Maybe they'll hate watch it. You know, maybe they'll watch to glean little bits of lore for the threads, but they're not going to be here the same way that a genuine viewer is.
I think what she was trying to do was try to address the hate, but I think she ended up addressing her audience instead. She ended up talking down to them.
I think the problem is that before this, there actually wasn't really all that much hate. There might have been a few people commenting, but most people just weren't watching. There wasn't enough, like, she wasn't hated because she wasn't known. Like, nobody knew G4 came back until this happened. It's only after this event did everyone start figuring it out. As a creator, you can attack people who hate you, but you can't attack your own audience, because you're just going to destroy yourself. You can't do that. And that doesn't mean that you have to capitulate to them all the time, because, for example, I have had some very healthy fights with my audience where we disagree on things. And some people have tried to spin that as, oh, Dev's sold out. He's not listening to his audience anymore. He's becoming too big. It's like, no. I can still disagree with you. I don't think what you're saying is correct. Is not the same thing as me insulting my own audience, or me getting a big ego, or anything like that. Like, there's a line to be drawn. However, I don't think the line is drawn here the way that G4 is handling things right now.
Oh yeah, I mean, she did start out by saying, oh, we gotta address sexism in gaming. And for a lot of people, that's a major red flag.
Like, people are here for the games, man. They're here to be reminded of the old days of of the show. They're here to be reminded of the old days of Morgan Webb and young pre-cocaine Adam Sessler. They want to remember their childhood when things were happy and carefree. They don't want to be lectured at. It's as simple as that. They just don't want to be lectured at.
Just talk about video games. Like, like you said, she didn't even circle back around to Red Dead. What did this is a 4-minute video, and she doesn't talk about Red Dead again, other than the initial beginning, and the segue was so awkward too. It felt like I was getting whiplash the first time I watched it.
Yeah, like I thought she was gonna spin it back around where she says like she had a sexist encounter in Red Dead Online and Rockstar needs to fix this. So, like that would still be shit, but at least it wouldn't be this.
At least, yeah, at least it wouldn't feel so left out of left field, really.
And I mean, you definitely get instances like this. Like I don't know if you've probably gone on a voice chat in an online game and had some kind of trans related slur thrown at you. I know Naomi's played Overwatch with voice chat, and one person asked if she was a lesbian, and then she said, "Yeah, kinda," because she's bi, and then that basically like shut the chat up because they didn't know what to say after that. But like people get shit on in voice chats. That is the name of the game, and maybe it can sometimes be harsher for different people. Fair enough, but like this wasn't even about that. This is just nonsense.
Like, she could have addressed, like, all these very specific people who just come to the show and just start shit. But no, I think she threw too wide of a net and turned off a lot of, like, would-be X-Play viewers who just, like you said, they're just here for the video games. They're not here to hear you complain about how bad chat could be.
The fact that she thinks it's a good idea to devote this much airtime to an extremely small percentage of her audience in exchange for destroying her fucking show, probably wasting all of Comcast's money, ending the careers of every single person there.
That's if this controversy continues to spin.
I think it will.
But it might. I mean, it feels like a really big blemish now. For me, this is the first time I heard G4 was coming back.
Yeah.
And I was like,
same here.
This is what they're spending their time on?
It's the same with me in that I didn't know G4 was coming back at all. And the only thing I know about them is this. And that's most people. But now that everyone knows that G4 is back and they're on the wider radar of the internet, people keep going back into like the year-long backlog of stuff that they've made. They're finding contradictions. They're finding those instances of Frosk being a little bit weird towards other people for comedy. And I'm actually okay with that. Like there's that one famous clip of Frosk grabbing at a hot guy's butt and making like a face to the camera. It's like, okay, you're being objectifying. That is a little bit sexist, at least by the progressive standard. But I don't care, because it's a joke, it's funny, fine. But it's the hypocrisy now.
People have a problem with the double standard.
Yes. And so now that people know that G4 is back, and they know that this is what G4 is, they're going back into the old videos. They're finding a whole bunch of stuff, and I think this just gets worse for them. I think there will be new memes, because people get autistic about this on the internet. Like, now that they know that there's like a giant deep lore to look through, there are going to be some people who are going to dig it. And they're just going to dig and dig and dig, and they're going to find new stuff. And like I expect on Twitter now, every couple of weeks, for at least the next few months, there's going to be a thread where it's like, hey, remember when Frosk said this? And then like a new clip of something ridiculous she's done. This has basically been Frosk daring the most autistic people on the internet to dig through her history and the history of everybody else at G4 to find the worst thing that they have done, and the internet has accepted that challenge, and it's not going to end well for them. I do think that this will be the event that, like, maybe 6 months, maybe a year down the road, when Comcast pulls the funding, this will be the event that we can point at that killed G4 again.
Oh, definitely. It could be like years down the line and people would still bring it up.
If I could get funded by Comcast for a year, I could use that money so well. These people are just fucking wasting it. I could actually but it's a big club and we're not part of it,
Exactly. We're just here doing our little thing. And hopefully we don't get swatted to oblivion for doing it.
So, that's all I've got to say about G4 until the next big shit show, which might actually happen relatively soon. Who knows? This is a pretty developing story. So, I mean, I'm not going to be like the Quartering, who puts out 5 videos in the same topic over the course of a week. It's not my style. But if more happens, we'll be back to talk about it again.
If the story develops, we will develop the story.
You come into the world as a special little soldier who is destined to light the first flame or allow it to fade, therefore perpetuating the cycle forever or ending it once and for all.
Wow, you got all that just from playing the game?
Oh, absolutely not. I got that from a bunch of Google searches, and then I basically just paraphrased the Wikipedia page. I cannot tell you a plot to any of the Dark Souls games if my life depended on it.
Hardcore anime weebs, it's your hardcore Bayonetta fans, and it's the people that probably shouldn't be allowed within 500 feet of a school